Hello, friend. On this episode of the Get Your Goal podcast, we are talking about how long it's going to take you to get your goal. And the short answer is that it's going to take as long as it takes. And I know exactly how unsatisfying that answer is. And that's why there's an entire podcast episode where we're going to dig into the actual nuances of why it's going to take as long as it takes. You ready for it? Let's go. Welcome to the Get Your Goal podcast, the place for ambitious, overthinking women to explore the mindset, emotions, and daily practices that actually move you forward. I'm your host, Paula B., Master Certified Life and Goal Coach, author, ultra runner, entrepreneur, and journaling expert. I'm here to help you understand the science and art of rewiring your brain for success so you can get your goal. Ready to dive in? Let's go. How did you like my podcaster voice at the beginning of this episode? That was fun, right? I actually made a decision recently about the podcast that I really spent, and that's past tense, I spent so much time overthinking, and I know you can relate. I spent so much time overthinking the transition between like the hello friend, getting into the title, or at least the central idea of the podcast. It's something that I like to do just psychologically. I like to either say the exact title or reference what is probably going to be the title, because I don't always have the exact title decided before I start recording. But I like to have something in the first minute of the podcast that kind of just psychologically lets you know that you're in the right place, that what you clicked on is what you're going to get. It is my natural inclination here while I ramble for the first 3 minutes. It is my natural inclination to just kind of go directly into a bit of a story that may or may not have anything to do with the topic. And so I made the decision for my own brain, for my own focus, for my own organization, that I'm going to have a very short blurb at the beginning of the podcast that introduces the podcast, introduces the title, and gives you at least a little bit of a reason, presumably, to keep listening. I mean, generally speaking, I think the title does that. But then after the little pre-produced podcast intro thing, with the music and everything, which I just made last week, and I'm so excited about it. I have to tell you, I'm so proud of that. I've had an intro on the podcast for years and years and years. Like, nothing about that was new, but it was something that I was really kind of struggling with and overthinking with this revitalized Get Your Goal podcast, because I know I'm getting off topic already, and I'm 2 topics in, and I haven't even talked about how long it's going to take you to get your goal, except for that intro. But anyways, the reason that it took me a while to re-record an intro is because for so many years, I have an intro and or an outro that talks about products or freebies or things that I don't do anymore. And I really had to work through a lot of shame and blame for no good reason other than that is always my first line of defense. I go directly to shame and blame. And then I recognize, oh yeah, that's right. I'm evolving publicly. That is literally my business model. No matter what else I do, I show you and teach you how to change. And so me blaming and shaming and judging myself for changing is not really in service of me or my business goals or you. So anyways, it took me however long it took me. I started recording podcast episodes again in June. This is now almost the beginning of October. It's the very end of September. In fact, it is today. I think today is literally the last day of September. In any event, it took me however long that is, 4 months, to work through that shame, blame. Oh, that's right. I'm evolving in public. And frankly, you can figure it out. This is the conclusion that I have come to about almost everything in my business now. You really can figure it out. You can figure out that I've changed. You can figure out what I'm doing now. You can figure out all of it. All of it. Oh my gosh. And that really is the perfect segue. I'm not sure if I finished everything that I was telling you. The perfect segue into what we're talking about today, about how long it's going to take you. Because here's why it's going to take you a while. there are things to figure out. And I know that sounds like a very sort of bland and pat answer too, kind of along the lines of it's going to take as long as it takes. But here is my most deeply held value. That's not the right word. I was going to say thing. That's not descriptive enough. Here is something that I believe deeply in my bones. You are given a goal, and you can hear that however you want to, from whatever source you want to hear it from. You are given a goal to learn something about yourself. That is the reason why you have goals. And it might even be the reason why you struggle with having goals, is because even that understanding of yourself, seeing yourself as a creative being, as a person who wants things, as a person who is allowed to want things and create something for yourself, even the concept of having a goal might be your first goal so that you can learn that about yourself. You are given goals to understand yourself. And this, I'm going to say obsession that we all have, that's a big word, and clearly it's unfair to say that we all have it. But I do believe that there are a lot of people in the world who want to help you get your goals, who really talk about getting your goals through the lens of time in a way that does not serve you. And that's why I wanted to have this conversation today. Actually, the real reason why I wanted to have this conversation today, I was listening to a podcast this morning. This is how I start my day pretty frequently, is I'm drinking my coffee, playing my games on my phone, and I will kind of passively absorb information. It's something that I like to do during that like quiet time in the morning when I'm waking up and kind of getting my brain online. So I listen to different podcasts, and the one that I'm listening to right now, I simultaneously love it and find parts of it infuriating, which is really, it's not a great way to start my day every time. But what I'm finding is that even the parts that I find infuriating are super helpful for me, because I'm listening to, why do I disagree with that? What is it about that I think differently and feel differently, and how would I like to explain something like that to my audience? And so interestingly, this is where we came to today's podcast topic of how long it will take you to get your goal, because I was listening to a podcast where the podcaster was talking about how speed is one of the most important parts of getting your goal, that the faster you get into action, the faster you make decisions, the faster you get your results, the better. And the real truth of it is that faster is kind of only better for the person who is selling you something. That edge of urgency, like, oh, you really have to get out of the pain that you're in right now, the struggle that you're in right now, the frustration that you're feeling right now. And the only way to do that is by buying my thing. Like, I've long since had my issues with that false urgency and with the poking of the pain that most marketers do, that reminding you that you don't have what you want. And I gently try to walk that line with you. The truth of it is, I do have processes that can help you get out of pain, that pain of like having a goal and wanting something for yourself and really seeing yourself as a person who is capable of more, and also simultaneously seeing yourself as a person who spends hours on your phone or gets to the end of the day and didn't do what you asked yourself to do, and then sits in the shame and blame and judgment. Well, this is where we started the podcast, of thinking of yourself as a person who's doing it wrong. Like, I get it, and I can help you with that. And also constantly leaning into that and simultaneously poking at the part of you that wants out of that pain, that urgency to get out of that pain, is so counter to what I'm going to teach you when you come into my world. Like, I'm going to teach you how to simply hear yourself, recognize the urgency, feel the feelings, and allow your goal to take as long as it takes. That's why I wanted to have this conversation with you today on the podcast, because I don't ever want to invite you into my world from a place of urgency, as though I'm going to help you solve your problem instantly. I have what I consider a 3-year rule. And I really like to start off this conversation by telling you that it doesn't mean it's going to take you 3 years to get your goal, because I know that you do feel some urgency. Dude, me too. Like, for reals. I do feel urgency to get out of this, at least vaguely and sometimes terribly yucky feeling that I have about where I currently am. I'm not telling you that it's going to take you 3 years to get your goal, but what I am telling you is that it will very likely take around 3 years to complete the process of rewiring your brain, to step fully and completely into your new identity as a person who not just got your goal, but has your goal and embodies the kind of person who is your goal, whatever that specific thing is. I mean, if you are writing something, embodying yourself as an author. If you are losing weight, embodying yourself as a person at a healthy weight. If you are starting a business, embodying the energy of being the president and CEO of your own company. That embodiment work, that identity work, again, takes as long as it takes. And time is not the mechanism by which you will change. I have a really famous, and I'm about to swear, this sentence that's about to come out of my mouth is the reason that I checked the little box on this podcast contains explicit material those many years ago, because I don't really swear on the podcast. I actually swear a lot in real life. I do swear a good fair bit inside the Get Your Goal membership. I don't find it to be incredibly useful on a podcast, partly because it changes monetization on YouTube. And sorry, I just touched my microphone and you just heard something that sounded like me touching my microphone. I don't find a lot of swearing useful on a podcast. But for these rare occasions, I did check that box. Here's the thing. Time doesn't do shit. Time does not change your mind. Time does change your body. There's gravity, there's the time-space continuum, there's biology, there's chemistry. Like, time is changing you, but your brain will stay the same unless you intentionally ask yourself to change it. Now, you might have an argument against that. There have been times where your mind has changed that seemed as though time took care of things. I think all the time about how I didn't recognize how intentionally I was working on calling myself a runner. What I do remember is that it took me years to do such a thing, that I dismissed it, that I talked about it like, well, I'm just kind of running. Like, I tiptoed around it. And by the time I fully embodied that title of, that identity of being a runner, took years. And what I was doing behind the scenes was semi-intentional. I wanted to call myself a runner. I wanted to be a runner. I entered races. I downloaded training plans and printed them out and put them on the refrigerator. Like, I was doing the things, and I was very quietly and in small doses acknowledging that I was doing those things. And this really is like one of the most important pieces of embodying the identity of the thing that you want, is the acknowledgement of yourself as doing that thing and becoming that thing. Here's the part where I'm going to tell you that if you are unfamiliar with the Daily 3, which is my 5-minute journaling framework that is very specific to goal getting, like it is the process by which you rewire your brain, I have a link for you in the show notes or in the description box, wherever you are watching or listening, that can take you to the masterclass that will explain the Daily 3 in depth. Briefly, the 3 parts of the Daily 3 are the 3 things that rewire your brain to get your goal. They are the 3 things that you will do for approximately 3 years to begin embodying and then step into the identity of the person who has your goal. Being able to see yourself with the goal might be the hardest thing for you right now at the beginning of your journey, if you are at the beginning of your journey. It's why the Daily 3 starts with future self. The ability to see and imagine and feel the feelings of yourself with your goal is the mechanism that starts driving you there. It gets you going on being able to do the daily tasks, the things, the actions that move you towards your goal. The metacognitive journaling part of the Daily 3 is the part where you start to work through, I'm going to say, all of the mindset blocks. That sentence was about to come out of my mouth. And then I'm like, wow, that sounds like I expect you to have a lot of mindset blocks. The truth of it is that your specific goal, you might have a lot, you might have a few. I never know. There are some goals that you are actually going to knock out of the park in so little time that a lot of what I even talk about here on the podcast might just feel like it doesn't apply to you. There will, however, be some goal that you have in your life that feels so ridiculously hard to get. And this is why. Because of the difficulty imagining it, because of the mindset blocks that you have, because of the identity work that it will take to like step in and embody that person, are so counter to how you currently see yourself. That is the kind of goal. That honestly is the kind of goal that I'm talking about most of the time. There are some goals that really do honestly feel easy for you. And this work that I talk about doesn't really apply to those kinds of goals. The kinds of goals that feel like, man, I have been working on this my whole life. I have really wanted this since forever, and I just can't seem to get out of my own way. That's where the Daily 3 journaling framework really helps you dig in and find those places that you were struggling, the mindset blocks like I was talking about. So here's the thing about this 3-year rule that I have. Generally speaking, the first year is all about finding your consistency. And there are different factors that go into finding your consistency, really specifically getting out of your own way by understanding what it is that you are even thinking about the tasks, and finding your own rhythm, understanding what actually not works for you in the sense of, yay, I'm getting results even, but what works for you in terms of this actually feels sustainable and doable and pleasurable. Being able to sift through all of the things that don't feel good, all of the things that don't end up working like for your routine, all of the willpower, all of the pressuring yourself, all of the trying to make yourself just do the tasks. Generally speaking, that takes about a year. And that is, again, let me clarify. All of what I'm talking about today, total rule of thumb, generally speaking, your specific timeline is going to be very unique to you. It's going to be yours. There have been goals that I have gotten that getting consistent actually felt really easy. Like I found my mindset superhighways almost instantly, implemented on them, didn't really struggle with the consistency part. Like that might be the thing that actually feels incredibly easy to you, or it might be the thing that feels incredibly hard to you. It's why I have this general, like, it'll probably take about a year. Some people will take less, some people will take more. But while you are figuring yourself and your rhythm out to get that version of consistency, and I'm actually going to interrupt myself on this. When I'm talking about consistency, I am not talking about like, oh, you have to do every single thing every single day in the exact same way every single time. I'm talking about that generalized consistency, a consistency within yourself. Another word you might use is alignment with yourself. One of the ways that I have talked about it over the years, back when I was, I'm going to say only a weight loss coach, even when I was talking about weight loss all the time, I was always talking about every goal, every time, always talking about understanding yourself, finding your, and this is the word I used, peaceful parameters within yourself. The consistency within yourself is the mechanism that I'm talking about. The ability to make a sovereign decision and follow through on it with the understanding of the inconsistencies of life, that not every single day needs to look exactly the same in this oh so perfect way for you to be able to get what you want. That you are the one with your hand on the wheel. You are the one with your hand on the rudder and the sails. You are the one guiding yourself. Rigidly adhering to specific tasks through willpower is not the kind of consistency that I'm talking about. That first year of making mistakes, finding your peaceful parameters, learning your internal consistency is all about asking yourself to do something and then doing it, which really is the first layer of using the Daily 3. For me, of the ways that I use Daily 3 journaling is in the small. I like to use Daily 3 for both the meta and the macro and micro. That's what I was trying to say. I knew that meta was the wrong word. The macro and the micro, the big picture of here's my big goal. This is the thing that I'm going for, really feeling that feeling, but then also asking myself, what am I going to do today in service of that goal? For me personally, there have been entire years, decades of my life where I could kind of visualize that big picture. I'm thinking really specifically of writing a book. And I'm even thinking specifically of writing a book right now. I've been thinking about writing my second book for several years. Since my first book came out, I knew I had a second book in me. That big picture has felt clear enough to me, but the daily tasks, asking myself to actually sit down and consider what the book might be. Sit down and start writing an outline. Sit down and start writing the chapters. Sit down, start writing the abstract of it. Sit down, start looking for comps. Sit down and do the work. Oh yeah, that's the part that I keep putting off. That is the consistency that I'm talking about. With the Daily 3, that future self journaling, you can see the big picture, but also asking yourself to do the things in a way that you can be internally consistent with. Again, doesn't have to be every single day, but asking yourself to do a thing and then doing it. Now, having said that, it's been 3 years since I published my book. No, it's only been 2. It's been 3 years since I got my book deal, and then my book came out 2 years ago. Time has no meaning to me right now. Apropos of how long will it take you to get your goal? I don't know. What's time? It's been 2 years since I've written my last book. So the internal consistency, yeah, sometimes it takes 2 years. Sometimes it takes longer. This is why I'm giving you the general theme of my 3-year rule. The first year is approximately about getting that internal consistency. The second year is about asking yourself to see your efforts as working. Now, this one is tricky for some people. I have so much experience, both personally and as like a personal trainer and as a coach and as, like a weight loss coach specifically, but as a life coach. We are hardwired not to see ourselves changing. We are hardwired to continue to see ourselves the way we have, quote unquote, always been, because it's just efficient for your brain. The truth of it is your brain is 100% capable of changing and will change. You have the ability to change your brain. Neuroplasticity is a thing, and it takes intentionality. Your brain will continue to tell you, literally, no matter what the numbers show. Your brain will continue to tell you that you are not making progress, that you are not losing weight, that you are not making money, that you have not really written as much as you wanted to, that you have not really started your business, that you have not really accomplished that thing. And the only reason your brain does this is because it takes less energy. It takes more energy to see progress than to not see progress. Your brain, my brain, everybody's brain will look at numbers and continue to tell you the same old story until you ask yourself to tell yourself a new story. I can't, oh my gosh, I had this one client. This was so many years ago. And I was not an accomplished coach at the time. I was not a skilled coach at the time. I found this client to be incredibly frustrating, which got in my own way of being able to help her. And I can't imagine that she's still listening, but I apologize to a lot of past clients that I didn't know how to help them break through this. But I had a client who had lost 12 pounds. 12 pounds. You can hear how significant that is. Who just simply could not, would not see that she was losing weight. Every single time we spoke, I'm not losing weight. This just isn't happening. I'm never going to get there. I look at these numbers. These numbers clearly prove that I'm never going to get to my goal. She was frustrated. I was frustrated. This was back at the time. Total note to the aside from my life coach friends. This was back when I used to try to really argue with facts, meaning that I would present facts as though that was clearly the answer. And what I have really, truly since come to understand is that facts are 100% meaningless in the face of feelings. Your feelings are the things that are stopping you from seeing your progress. And here's what I mean. You have a stronger emotional resonance with your current self-concept of a person who is not making progress than with your new self-concept of a person who is making progress. You also very likely have a strong avoidance of a lot of the success feelings. Here's what I mean. And here's why the Daily 3 works. Right now, it sounds really nice to think of yourself as a person like, oh my gosh, when I finish getting my goal, I'm going to have so much confidence. When I finish getting my goal, I'm really going to see myself as a success. When I finish getting my goal, I'm going to be rich and famous, or I'm going to be thin, or I'm going to have a best-selling book, or whatever. You think that it's going to feel so amazing to have your goal. And yet when you put yourself in that moment of having it, in your future self journaling, the having of it feels so unfamiliar. Confidence right now might feel so unfamiliar. Success or wealth or being, famous, being visible might feel so unfamiliar right now that it is your go-to to simply avoid those feelings. Specifically, coming back to the example, the woman that I was working with really struggled to see herself and feel in herself as a person who could lose weight, as a person who could feel confident in her body, as a person who could be successful at, frankly, almost anything. This particular client really struggled with feeling like she was capable of making decisions that took her where she wanted to go. She kind of looked around her life. She was in a job that she didn't like. She was in a relationship that felt like a struggle. She was in a body that felt like a struggle. Everywhere she looked in her life, she didn't see herself as succeeding. And I, at the time, just wanted to show her the numbers. Like, look, you've lost 12 pounds. Clearly, you're getting where you want to go. Now, as a life and goal coach who understands emotional resonance, this is why I offer you the daily 3 journaling framework. That small minute of success journaling where you feel the feeling of being successful, where you feel the feeling of confidence, where you feel the feeling of consistency, where you feel the feeling of this is all lining up, this is all coming together, this is all taking me where I want to go. When you first start practicing those feelings, they're going to feel deeply uncomfortable. They're going to feel overwhelming. They're going to feel foreign and unfamiliar in a way that is actually the mechanism of what's stopping you from seeing your progress. Intentionally asking your brain to see your progress by feeling the feeling of your progress is basically the whole second year of getting your goal. Again, the timeline here, you might have already even accomplished what you set out to accomplish, and this work is still relevant. This work can be the thing that actually helps you maintain your weight, can be the thing that actually helps you promote your book after you've written it, or go find an agent to even get it published. Like, this work of seeing yourself and feeling yourself making progress is the next step. The third step to getting your goal, the third year, the third thing, the third layer is actually embodying the identity of. The work that you do to get consistent and then see yourself, like truly see yourself performing the actions that are creating your goal, are the stepping stones to becoming the identity of the person who has your goal. Let me talk to you again about how I struggled to see myself as a runner. I'm trying to remember. I don't think I ever had, I'm going to say, trouble being consistent. I enjoyed running enough right from the jump, at least in part because I took it very slowly. Speaking of time, I had already spent, I had always walked. That's not true. I had been walking for months before I started doing a run walk interval. And I had been doing a run walk interval for months before I ran like a sustained amount of time. I had already seen myself as a person who could walk, I think, every day. I don't know if it was actually every day, but consistently. I had already seen that bit of consistency. I didn't see it taking me necessarily where I wanted to go, as far as I was trying to lose weight at the time. I was not intentionally trying to see myself as an athlete. That was definitely one of the things that stood in my way, as I had never seen myself as an athletic person. But I was able to move through those stages of doing the things and watching the intervals add up into, okay, I think I can sustain this. But that sustained running didn't in and of itself, watching myself do sustained running for mile after mile, month after month, race after race, didn't in and of itself make me say that I was a runner. Embodying that sentence, I am a runner. I was going to say took time, except that it didn't take time. Time doesn't do shit. It took intentional effort on my part, which felt intentional, or rather unintentional at the time. I was doing mindset work without recognizing it as mindset work. I remember vividly after I attempted my first marathon that I was in the front yard and I was pulling weeds, and as is so often the case, that was, thinking about my life and myself while I was doing something very routine, very rote. And I will never forget the moment. I was working on this really big weed in the front yard that had really deep roots. And I was thinking about how I had failed to run this marathon and how I had really struggled and how I had put in the training and I had put in the time and why in the world was it so hard for me? And like, as that gigantic weed came up out of the ground, you know how satisfying that is. I heard the thought for the first time in my life, I don't believe I can. I didn't believe that I could run a marathon. I didn't believe that I was capable. I didn't believe I was the kind of person who could do that. And I didn't do much with that other than, go put the weed in the yard and garden waste. But I didn't really know what to do with that at the time. I didn't have the frameworks that I have now. But that moment, honestly, I often think that was the moment that I became a life coach, even though it was years and years and years before I actually became a life coach, like literally almost 11 years, 12 years. Yeah, like 12 years before I became a life coach. I really do think that was the moment where I really heard myself for maybe the first time in my life and heard how I was stopping myself and understood on even the most basic level that there was something that I could do about it, and that it wasn't my training, it wasn't the physical stuff, that it was my brain, that there was something I could change inside my thoughts and my feelings that would change the results that I was getting. Interestingly, not very long after that, I did run my first marathon, and I'm going to think about how intentional that actually was. At the time, it seemed to just come to me. It felt natural. It felt like time doing the work as opposed to me doing the work. What did I do? What was my process at the time? And by the way, these are great questions for you. This is what I tell you if you've ever listened to this podcast or anything that I talk about. Understanding yourself means sifting through the times that you have achieved something that actually felt incredibly easy to you, because inside of there are all of the seeds you need for the thing that feels hard. The goal that feels hard is going to be accomplished not exactly the same way as the goal that felt easy, but the mindset part, the belief part, you already have all of the helpful thoughts you need. That embodiment of I am a runner, I am a marathoner. I was doing success journaling mentally and somewhat unintentionally every time I was running. I remember asking myself to believe. I remember asking myself to see that what I had been doing was what I wanted to be doing, that what I had been doing had gotten me here, that what I was doing was going to take me where I wanted to go, and that what I was doing so repetitively that I could simply call myself that person. These are the layers that you will work through no matter where and no matter how. Like, if you work through them with the Daily 3 journaling framework, or if you work through them inside the Get Your Goal membership. I mean, this is the work that we do inside the Get Your Goal membership for sure. This 3-year plan of getting consistent, not just through your actions, but through your own internal consistency, that rewiring of your brain to see that what you are doing is all adding up. And then that final piece of stepping into your new self-concept, your new identity of I am a person who not just created my goal, but has my goal, embodies my goal. No matter the mechanism that you use, whether it's just listening to a podcast or whether it's using the Daily 3 framework or whether it's coming in and doing this work with other women just like you, ambitious, overthinking women who love to understand themselves, who are working through their journaling, who are working through their own processes, who are deeply getting to their goal by understanding themselves. If that kind of camaraderie and support and coaching feels like the kind of mechanism that you would like to use, please come and join us. You are invited. You are welcomed. No matter whether or not I personally have the thing that's going to help you, this is how you're going to move to your goal. And this is how long it's going to take you, as long as it takes. As long as it takes you to recognize your own internal consistency, as long as it takes to dig through your mindset blocks and find your mindset superhighways and rewire your brain to see your progress, as long as it takes to step into being the person who has your goal. That's how long it's going to take. And these are the mechanisms that are going to take you there. And if you'd like my help, through no urgency of this is the last time and you have to do it now and let's get out of that pain you're in. If this actually sounds appealing, because really, you know what? This is something I've been thinking about. This is something I've been thinking about very deeply. I'm going to talk to my business friends for a moment about marketing and selling and this idea of like selling with urgency or selling a result. This is something that I hear all the time. People don't buy things, they buy results. And I agree with you. And if you are the kind of woman like me who, yes, wants a result, but wants a result and deeply values the exploration along the way to the result, that is the woman who's going to do best in my world. The exploration, the understanding of yourself, the awareness, it's not even self-improvement. I don't love the word improvement because there's nothing wrong with you. There's nothing to fix. But that noticing that you feel better, that noticing that you are not standing in your own way, that you are not judging yourself as much as you used to. Again, coming back to how long did it take me exactly to stop judging myself and start putting a new intro on the podcast? If you are the type of woman who values that exploration, who is not so driven by the urgency that me telling that story about how it took me 4 months to put an intro on my podcast. And I really truly am grateful. I'm listening to my body for a second. Hang on. Do I feel grateful for that? Grateful isn't the right word. What do I feel? Oh, I actually feel a little bit proud of that. That's interesting. And grateful. No, it is grateful. It's like grateful pride. That's an interesting combination. There's also a lot of love in there. I love who I am capable of being when I allow myself to be me and take the time that it takes to explore that. I knew that I was judging myself, and I knew that I didn't have to. And I knew that I would find my way out, and I did. If that is the kind of journey that appeals to you, yes, you will get your goal. It's right there in the title of my business. like I am here for you to write your book. I am here for you to lose the weight. I am here for you to be in business. I am here for you to run your race. I am here for you to move through grief. I am here for your goal 100%. And I deeply value the journey there. I deeply hold space for the exploration. It's why I have a membership with literally 1,000 hours of resources, of coaching calls and webinars and journaling. What's the word I'm trying to come up with? Workshops. I value the exploration as much as the goal. That to me is the selling point. It really is. Yeah, you'll get a result. And it's going to take as long as it takes. And oh my goodness, the journey there, the path there, the space you will hold for yourself, the love you will find for yourself, the trust you will find for yourself. That is as good as the goal itself. My friend, that is what I'm selling. I'm selling the journey and the result. I'm selling I'm selling you on you is really what it always comes down to. You stepping into being your fullest, best expression of yourself, the you have always wanted to be. That's what I do. And if you made it to this part of the podcast, my goodness, you belong here. And I'm so happy that you're here with me. Thank you so much for listening today. I'll talk to you again soon. If you're getting a lot out of the Get Your Goal podcast and you're ready to take your journaling and mindset to the next level, you belong in the Get Your Goal membership. Inside, you'll find the expert coaching insights and interactive community of other ambitious, overthinking women that you've been searching for. With weekly group coaching, an expansive library of resources, daily accountability, and a safe space to dig deep at your own pace, the Get Your Goal membership has exactly what you need to get your goal. Head over to getyourgoal.com/membership to learn more and join today. I can't wait to see you inside.